Hello and welcome to Krista So Crafty. My name is Krista. I really appreciate you being here. If this is the first time you've been here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. So today I'm going to do something a little fun. I started playing around with some blue jean that I had, and I've been making some little tags. And I thought, you know what, instead of me just making them, how about I bring you along and show you what I did. Now, as you can see, I don't always put something on both sides, but sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. This one I put to and a from on it. You know what, the world is your oyster, right? You can make them however you want. I will show you how I'm making them, and then you can take your creativity and make them your own. So the first thing I did is I just took a piece of cardboard and I cut out, I want to show you the measurements, a rectangle that was 4 inches long by 2 inches in width. And then what I did is I went and I measured down, first I measured in 3/4 of an inch in on both sides, and then I measured 3/4 of an inch down on both sides. And then I just took my ruler and I laid it on here and I connected the dots basically, drew the line, and then I cut it all out. And I also took just like a little pokey tool, trying to find where it is. I think I put it away already. And I just made a spot in the center so that I would know, where the center was. Because on one of these, as you can see, I put a grommet on there. So for that, I absolutely needed to know where the center was so I could, center that, right? But these ones, I just took and tied a knot on the end of the twine, put it in between, and then stitched across, and they're not going to be coming out. Okay, so, there's different ways you can do this. So once you have your little shape, we can set that aside for a second. And I just have some scrap blue jean. I have quite a bit of scrap blue jean. If you've seen the blue jean quilt I made, this is where I got a lot of my blue jean from, but I still have some left. If you did see that, I will post a video up here for you. It turned out so nice. I did a bunch of hand embroidery on it. And anyway, I'll put a link up here for you. So with this, what I did is I put some, fusible interfacing in here just to make the material a little bit more stiff. So the very first one I didn't put any stabilizer in it. And as you can see, it's really kind of floppy, and it's fine. If you don't have any, you can absolutely do it this way. But with the other ones, I just went and I put that on both sides of this, and it just makes it that much more sturdy, and it just looks nicer and it feels nicer. Now, if you don't have any fusible interfacing, you could just take and cut out a 3rd layer of your blue jean and put that in between. So then you'd have 3 layers, right? The front and the back, and then the one on the inside. But that would help to make it more stable, sturdy as well. If you don't have that, you could use any type of material, put a couple layers in there. Once we have our shape cut out, ready to go, we have our blue jean with our interfacing, or however it is you're going to make it. All I did was I took this and I folded it in half, and I laid my little template on top of it, and I scooted it down so I had utilized all the space. And I'm just using a pen because we're not going to see this. It's on the inside, and these are never going to be washed, so it's not like it's going to run. So I'm just putting this right in where I want it, and I'm just going to trace all the way around the outside. Just like so. This is a fun little project that you could, make for your presents, for everyday presents. You could make them for Christmas presents. You could put tags on different gifts, any type of gifts you want. And you can, like I said, put the to and the from. I just used a Jiffy marker on here. And then you could, write on here who it was to and who it's from. So now that I have my design drawn, I just put a pin in here to hold it in place. And I have a pair of craft scissors. You could use I might have to use my fabric scissors because those things are dull. You know what, let's try using these ones. These are fabric, but it depends on the fabric. Do you ever have a pair of scissors that are like that? Some fabric, it'll cut beautifully. Other fabric, like these, it's just not wanting to cut through. So I will use my fabric scissors. Much better. So we're going to cut this out. So for each tag, you will need 2 of these. Just cut across here. This is a fun project to do, you know, on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday evening when you're winding down. It's very stress-free, just a lot of fun to do. So I've taken the pin out, and now I've got my 2 shapes, my blue jean on one side and my interfacing on the other. And now this is where you can get creative. How you want to decorate your little tags is absolutely up to you. I have a bag of lace that I just forgot I had, actually. So I've just been using that. So as you can see, I've used some of that on here. A nice wide piece. I just hot glued it on, and then I trimmed it. And as you can see on this one, I used my pinking shears along the edges. And, you know, it's fun. So with this one, this is part of the lace, but I just cut them apart. And then I had these little metal, I don't even know what they are, like stud type things with, I'll show you one. So I have all different kinds in here, but they're just little metal things, and they've got the teeth on the back. Can you see that? Hold on. Can you see the teeth? There we go. And so then I just poked it through the little flowers and then bent them over, and then I hot glued them onto the tag. You could do that if you have buttons. So with this one, I had a piece of just a lace, and I cut it and I just formed a circle with it. Actually, I used my sewing machine and I sewed, and then I gathered it and made a circle, and then I just glued the lace part on, and then I glued the little button on. What else is here? So with this one, I had some rickrack, and then I took some of these flowers again and put them on. Like, however you want to decorate them, it's absolutely up to you. So I have my 2 pieces here. Let's use this one here. So this lace here, you see, it's got blue in the center. So let's see if I can open this. Somebody tied it so nicely, but they tied a knot in it. There we go. So here is lace. It's kind of pretty. So let's use some of that. And I don't know, I might use some more of these, but maybe I won't put them in the center of the flower. Maybe I'll decorate it just on here. So let's get some scissors. First, we'll put our fabric scissors away so we don't use the wrong ones. So I'm just going to cut that apart. And I also have a roll of twine here, and that's what I'm using for the hangers on these. Now, if you wanted, you could use ribbon, you could use yarn, anything that you have, really. String, fishing line would even work. So I'm just going to take and cut these, I'm just going to cut these apart like that. So in my world, up here, I like to have odd numbers of things. So if you notice on here, there's 3 flowers, 3 flowers, 3 flowers, 1 flower. That's just something that I've always done. You do you. So I have these 3 flowers. I have, let's see, what else have I got here? I've got 4 flowers technically, but I'm going to use 3. And I've got in here, I have some stars. Oh, I've got silver stars. Maybe let's do the silver ones. Let's see. Can you see that? So I'm going to use some of the silver ones. So let's get these out. So there's 3. Let's maybe take 5 out. Let's do 5. We'll do 3 flowers, 5 stars. I'm just making this up as I go. So if you have a bedazzler, I believe is what it's called, you can take this and put this in there, put the material, and it'll shape it in there. Because these are such small items, I'm just going to do it by hand. just to show you that you don't need one of those, you can absolutely, you know, put this on without. Now, I do have a little hammer, and that does help. It'll save your fingers, trust me. And, you know, I've got some buttons here if I wanted, but I think for now, this is what we're going to do. Now it's time to start putting these stars onto our design, or onto our tag. I need to figure out how I want to do this. So let me play around for just a second and get an idea how I want to do this. Now, my only caution is, no matter what it is you're doing, remember that you're going to have to stitch around the outside. This is what's going to hold everything together. And up at the top is where you're going to put your tie. However, whatever you're going to use for a tie, the tie will obviously go up at the top. And I like to tie a knot in my twine and then put that between. And when I stitch over this, right? And that's what holds it in place. So just a few things to remember when you're making these. Maybe we'll go like, oh, that'll be kind of cute. Let's do this. They're going to be upside down right now, but that's okay. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the little flower at the top. And then I will put these little stars in a kind of a V pattern going down. Something like that. And of course they'd be all straight. And can you see that? See how I've got the flower? So I'll glue that on, and then I can put this on. So I have my glue gun plugged in here, and I'm just going to center this, see where I want it. I'm going to put, oops, this way. Yep, this is the front here. So this is the back. So I'll put a little bit of glue on there, and I'm going to pop that down like that. Ow, glue's hot. Perfect. So now I have that exactly where I want it. And I'm going to take these guys off, push those to the side. And I'm going to start right there. So I'm going to start with this one. And it's really, all you do is just push, and you push it through the fabric through. Can you see how they're poking out there? And then all I do is I don't pound, I just take my hammer and use it to kind of push those little pokey things over. As I said, you can use your finger, but after a while, your finger starts to get really sore. I know this because I was doing that at first. So I guess, like I said, if you do have the bedazzler, you could use that, but I wanted to show you that this works as well. So there's our one little star on there, and on the back you can see where it's attached. And then I'm just going to do this with all 5 of these. So I'm going to put this one right across. I'm going to try to make sure I get it level. I don't want it to be crooked. So turn that right there, and I'll push that through. And it pushes through really easy because these little things on the back are quite pointy and sharp. And then we'll just fold these over. What would you use these for? Is this something that you think you would make? I think that these will be nice to have in my, wrapping box that I have upstairs, that holds the wrapping paper and the gift bags, and I have some bows and tissue paper and all that. But it'd be nice, I think, to have these in there as well, so that, see, so there's the 2. When you are wrapping a gift, you can just grab one of these and throw it on, and it's just makes a nice little addition to their gift. Okay, so we're going to put this one here. There's lots of other ways you could decorate these. If you have some beads, you could absolutely, either hot glue some beads on or sew some beads on. You could do applique on here. You could, make a little silhouette of a dog's head or a cat's head or something like that. You could use any type of material to decorate these up. You just want to make sure you do it before you sew them together, because you don't want to see all the stitching on both sides. So that's 3. And we'll bring this one in here. And I gotta bring it down just a little bit. There we go. And we'll push these over as well. I always take my fingers and push the material down as far as it'll go so that the pokey things are sticking out as much as they can. And then I'll just fold this over. And I just work my way around this. Come on, fold over. So that's 4. So put that right in the center like that. And push that material out. I'm trying to think what else you could do. If you had rick-rack, like I said before, you know what, if you had a Cricut, like I have a Cricut, and I thought about cutting out some HTV little designs and putting them on here, that would absolutely be cute. You could, there's so many different ways that you could personalize these. You could take material and cut it out. Let's say your friend's name is Krista and you want to make a little tag to go with their present. So you would cut out the letter K and sew like a big puffy letters or something, and then sew that on here. That would be really cute as well. And then that would make it all personalized. If you were having a birthday party and you had like treat bags, again, you could make something like this with each child's a first initial of their name. Do something like that to, you know, separate the gifts to see whose is whose. There. I think that's pretty. That looks good. And I made sure that I was in far enough so that I can sew all the way around the outside. So now I'm going to take these two and I'm going to put them together. And I am going to use twine. So this is, what is that? That's 12. So probably 14 inches of twine is what I have here. And that seems really long, but by the time you tie the knot in here, you actually lose quite a bit. So I'm just going to tie the knot and keep that knot close to the end and tie it, pull it nice and tight. And then I do take my non-sewing scissors and just trim off some of that excess stuff. And then what I do is I take and I put it in between the 2 layers. This will make it so that the tie is not going to come out. Now I'm going to take a pin. It's easier if you lay it down on the table, I find. So I'm going to lay this in the center. I'm going to lay this over top. And I'm going to put a pin in here to help hold this in place. Like so. And then I'm going to start sewing up here so that I can stitch over top of our hanger and it won't fall out. So you want to make sure it's down far enough that you can get in there with your sewing machine, but you're not going to run into that ball where the knot is. So I'm just pushing it down a bit. And I'm just going to move this stuff out of the way. And let me turn you a bit. And I'm just going to sew across here. I'm not using a fancy stitch or anything. I'm just using a regular stitch. I did move my needle over to the far left, if you have that option, or you can change out your presser foot to a zipper foot, and then that'll give you less room and you can move, get in there nice and close to the edge. I'm going to sew about 1/8 of an inch from the edge, and by doing that it will help to stitch everything together, but it'll also be small enough that it'll catch the hanger and make sure it's stitched. So with that in the center where I want it, I've got everything laid out the way I want it to be. I did start sewing and did a little tiny back stitch. Whoops. And now I'm just going to stitch over and go right to the corner. And I'm using white thread on the top and black on the bottom, just because that's what I have on here. You can color coordinate your thread, absolutely. And I'm just going to sew all the way around. When I get to the corner, I'm going to leave my needle down. So I'm going to stitch all the way down. And I'm making sure everything is lined up nice. An eighth of an inch all the way around. This just makes sure that everything is sewn together. And it's going to look nice and neat when we're all done. So make sure we clip our threads. And we can take our pin out now. And that, my friends, is as easy as it is. Let me turn you again. That's how easy it is to make a blue jean tag. Now, if you have pinking shears, you can take them at this point and cut around there if you want. I'm going to leave this one the way it is, but you could put your fabric together and use your pinking shears and cut it before you sew it and get your tag on. Or you can leave it just the way it is like this. Now, this is blue jean, so it's going to fray, and I'm okay with that. It just kind of adds to the craft. But I think these turned out so cute, and I think they will be a really nice addition to any gift, to whether it be a gift bag or a box that you're wrapping up or something like that. It's just a nice little added touch to your gift. So I really hope you enjoyed this little project that I did today. I'm just going to show you all these, hang these all up here. So there's lots of different ways that you can decorate your tags for your friends, your family, for different gifts that you're making. Or even if it's a bought-in gift, you could put this on a bought gift as well. I just think they're fun to make. I really hope you enjoyed this video today. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel and click on the bell to receive notification every time I upload a new video. I want to thank you again and happy crafting.